Now, the so-called jungle camp in Calais is to close this week, and the UK government is hurrying to fulfil its promise to bring unaccompanied minors to Britain. One of those who's led the fight, of course, to bring the children of Calais to Britain is the Labour MP Stella Creasy, who joins me now. Very good to see you. First of all, I mean, your overall feel on the closure of this camp, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, it seems you've been there, an awful place.
Look, what's a bad thing is that there are 10,000 people who are asking for help and they haven't had an answer, of whom 1,000 of them are children. Now, tomorrow the bulldozers and the French police are going to start to move in, and that question still remains. What happens to those people? How do we treat them fairly and with dignity? And the problem has been that for so long people have wanted to avoid the question. Answering it and doing it in a way that is fair and people can have confidence in is happening at very short notice.
And so we get this promise that the UK government has made about unaccompanied and indeed minors who have a right to be here because of family links. It all seems very last minute.
Well, look, we passed the Dubs Amendment in name of the amazing Alf Dubs back in May this year. I went out to Calais over the summer, and one of the things that struck me, very simply, there was just nobody there to make that then happen. Now, I think the government should get plaudits for the fact that actually things have started to move, but it's obviously happening at very short notice, and that's the real concern for many of us. There's still a lot to do.
There was an EU referendum around. Do you think it was that?
I think for too long the government has felt that this has been somebody else's problem. And actually, as you say, many of those children, and the children that you've seen come here this week, have family here. So under international law, they've had the right to be here. In fact, Citizens UK informed our government back in July of 100 children who had the right to be in the UK. Then in August, they gave them another list of children. And then in September, they gave them a list of children who, under the Dubs Amendment, we felt it was in their best interest to be here in the UK. That it has taken until October to act is a problem, but they are acting, and I think they should get recognition for that.
But why do you think that problem developed?
Well, that would be a question you need to ask perhaps Theresa May, who was, of course, responsible for this, and indeed Amber Rudd. What we're focused on right now is, look, 100 children or so have come here, and yesterday we saw the first girls coming here and we saw the first children coming under the Dubs Amendment. That's just 1% of that total population in Calais, and there are still a lot of children who need an answer, who do need processing, and I cannot stress enough, and one of the things that has been so depressing this week is people querying this safe and legal route, which has involved a lot of verification, a lot of checks. It's taken a lot of work by the voluntary organisations to get it right. Those children are starting to come here, but there are still many more that when those bulldozers move in will be in Calais and need our help.
When you say the questioning, do you mean those that might not be 18, might not be under 18?
I mean those people who have downloaded a Twitter app, which is a great fun app to check people's age, and somehow decided that they are experts in our immigration and asylum system. And one of the things I say to people about all of this is, look, it's absolutely right to ask questions, but it's then wrong not to do your homework. The tests that are being done in Calais, this is a legal and safe route for these children to come here. That is why they are coming here. That is why yesterday... But if they aren't children, I mean, that is significant if some of them aren't children. Well, I mean, there was that statistic, wasn't there, that up to September 2015, two-thirds of so-called children who arrived here actually turned out not to be I'm really glad
children.
you've asked about that statistic, Dermot. Let's debunk it. Because actually what that statistic was about was the total number of children who have been here illegally or arrived illegally. So, for example, they turn up at Heathrow, of then a proportion of whom there were queries about their age. Then the proportion of those that actually it was found they were not young. So actually 80% of the children in total were children, not 60% weren't children. There's some very, very shady work being done about the numbers, and it speaks to a broader problem that we have here, which is actually if we want to do the right thing, which is say actually a young child who has nobody else in the world, we will do our fair share of helping them because they're fleeing from a war zone, they're fleeing from conflict. Actually, we've got to have confidence and trust in our system. So ask the questions, but then do your homework.
But what about dental checks? I mean, apparently 17 other European countries carry those out. Why would you be against that?
Again, and I know people find experts perhaps a bit old hat, but I'm going to listen to dentists on this, and dentists will tell you it's not an accurate test, so first and foremost it would be a waste of money, and also it's actually quite bad for your health because it does involve radiation. So really, are we going to say that it's in Britain's interest, it's the best of Britain, to apply a test to a child that is bad for their health because we don't think the other extensive tests, which involve their paperwork, interviews, talking to their family members who are here in the UK to verify their stories, are better? I think people need to be proud of the fact that actually albeit far too late, the government has started to get a process in place. They should be worried about the children who are still there and getting it right for them, and we need to make sure we have a better system in place so this doesn't happen again.
And what about the children then that do get here? I mean, it's almost a case in some of their cases of out of the frying pan into the fire, because they're not being adequately looked after. They're being stuck, we're hearing today, in one of these detention centres, which isn't adequate, is it?
No, and look, one of the things about this is that just getting these children here is the start of helping them get their lives back on track. You know, many of these children could go on to do amazing things in our communities if we can help them get back on their feet. They've seen some horrific things. They're incredibly vulnerable. They've got a lot of psychological problems. They're coming from war zones, conflicts. They've seen their parents be killed. It's a horrific place. So actually, when they get here, they need either to be reunited with their family so they have some stability, or they need decent fostering places and a new start. But I think it's a really powerful testament to the goodwill of the British people that we're prepared to do that.
How many would you take? I mean, would you take as many as are there? Would you take?
I would take
everybody?
Every child who has a legal right to be here in the UK. So when I met children in Calais who had family here in the UK who'd been there for months, there were children who gave up hope and they tried to get here illegally, and a couple of them actually ended up dying. Some of them have gone missing in that time period. Those children had a legal right to be here. I think we still have responsibility for them. I've been asking the government, you might have seen me get up and ask Theresa May directly, what's happened to those children? There were 18 of them that we knew had gone missing. Have we found them yet? So I think those we have a legal right to. For the children who have nobody else in the world, so the Dubs children, maybe their parents have been killed, they've been completely lost, then actually I think we should take our fair share. Now, I think that's about looking at what we can do with the French, but we're talking about 1,000 children, so in total 500 seems to me a pretty good number.
Okay, good.